These reports are absolutely insane, and they reveal that Jonathan India may very well be on his way to the Bronx at the end of this trade deadline. That is right, we're going to get into this report, all of it, and more on this episode of Yankees Digest. But before we begin, welcome to Yankees Digest. I'm your host, Gabby Gordon, and real quick, if you're among the 94.1% of the squad not currently subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, just hit 600 today, and we appreciate every single one of you. But with that being said, hit that subscribe button, and let's get straight down to business. So who is Jonathan India? Just to take a quick look at the guy. Well, he's this guy. He is the current second baseman for the Cincinnati Reds, and he's having a great year, and not to mention the fact that he is young, he's 6 feet, and he's on base a lot of the time offensively, but we'll mention his defensive stats in just a minute as well. On the year so far, 8 home runs, his on-base percentage is a nice .374, and he gets a lot of hits too. He gets on base, he works the count. Honestly, all statistics that really open up your eyes, especially when you're comparing it to the current status of the New York Yankees second baseman. Of course, as we know, that being Gleyber Torres. Now, we'll get into Gleyber's statistics in just a minute. But what's interesting to note is the rest of Jonathan India's stats, and they look a little bit like this. He's hitting 271, with 8 home runs, 40 ribbies, 50 runs, and 9 stolen bases, and a 7.89 OPS, right? So, as noted by John Morosi, we'll get into that quote in just a moment, clearly Jonathan India would help address the Yankees' need for a reliable leadoff hitter, and we know they have been through quite a bit of leadoff hitters this year thus far. They've tried out Volpe, that didn't go well. They tried out Gleyber, that didn't go well. They tried out Verdugo, LeMahieu. You know, the story goes on, and they haven't really found a reliable leadoff hitter for them at this point yet, and so what's most important to note here is that Jonathan India could fit that. He's hitting .265 with a .376 on-base percentage in the leadoff role, with not to mention 3 home runs and 15 RBIs. So that alone is like bing, bing, bing. Maybe this is something to pursue. If we look at the current guy that is sitting in the second base position for New York, you get him, Gleyber Torres, and he's having a rough one for sure. He's been having a rough year. He got benched earlier in the season just because his lack of hustle and his lack of enthusiasm. Honestly, he looks like he's not even enjoying the game most of the time anymore. He's the same age as Jonathan India, and they're just on 2 completely different wavelengths at this point. The on-base percentage is not drastically out of what I just showed you from India. If we look here, he's .374, Gleyber's sitting at .308, so it's not incredibly out of the realm that we're looking at. He also has 2 more home runs on the season, but he's just not a reliable hitter, and he doesn't make up for it with his defense. And that's probably been the biggest problem with Gleyber as a second baseman this year. It's like, I guess you can deal with a rough offensive season, but when you put together the amount of errors that he has made, you get this. You get 12 errors. Now, just look at the highlighted piece here in blue, because this is what stands out to me between these two, because honestly, if you look at their offensive stats, you know, we see Jonathan India working the count, getting on base. He has a higher on-base percentage, and especially in that leadoff role, that's really where his on-base percentage rises. But if you kind of just put them together, the offensive stats are not completely out of level with each other. If you put together the defensive stats, they're outstanding how incredibly different these two are. 84 games at second base for Jonathan India this year, and he's only had 2 errors. Gleyber has played 97, so granted, a bit more, but he's committed a league-high 12, right? The infield defense around the diamond has struggled. Nobody has struggled more than Gleyber Torres in the infield defense around your pitcher and the offensive batter against you. And Gleyber that has been the story, really, of his career. His defense sometimes can be incredible, and sometimes it can just be absolutely mind-boggling to see the plays that should be made are just not being made, and it's quite honestly concerning. Look at this quote here from Jeff Passan. Now, there was a video made on Yankees Digest just a few days ago specifically about the point that Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones are not entirely off the table. But I bring up this quote once again, and you can go check out that video after you finish watching this one, of course. But I bring up this quote again because if you really look at what value the Reds could be looking for a guy like Jonathan India, honestly, either one of these two guys could be a nice piece if you're going to get India in return. And maybe you say it's a little bit too much to offer. I don't know what value you have Jonathan India at. I also don't know what value the Reds are going to have him at. We also know the Reds may not 100% be all-in sellers come trade deadline. You know, they're not completely out of it, but of course their season's not going according to plan, so sure, they could be looking at some extra help here. Maybe a prospect is something that they want, a nice offensive addition to that prospect, to that farm system. I don't know, but what's interesting here is that the fact is Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez are not entirely off the table, which originally, potentially, they could have been, and that kind of would have cut the Yankees off from possibly a lot of trade discussions with other teams who are eyeing those two very, very high-ranked prospects, and we obviously haven't seen Jason Dominguez in pinstripes this season. We were going to, hopefully, and then, of course, an injury struck, and we don't know when that day is going to come, and obviously Spencer Jones is still in that Double-A role over there, so that could take some time as well. So maybe you weigh your options, and maybe one of those guys is involved in a trade for India. I don't know. It's interesting stuff. Also, to mention here, this is John Morosi speaking on India's value. It has been increasing. His value has been increasing due to his recent performance and the needs of suitors like the Yankees and the Mariners. Now, the Mariners could also be in a bidding war come trade time for India, and the reason behind it, the Yankees and the Mariners are kind of in the same position with what they need, and they're perfect suitors for a guy like India here, and his last couple of performances and his last few games, and it's really opened up a lot of eyes, and his value is certainly increasing. And then, of course, going with Jorge Castillo of ESPN, quote, the Yankees also have interest in India, but the Reds aren't expected to make him available unless they drop in the NL wildcard race over the next week, according to league sources. So, like I said, we're not 100% sure if the Reds are going to, sell, because this is a valuable guy for them, and especially what he's done as of late. He's been a valuable piece to their offense and also to their defense, being a consistent fielder, making the plays, but also getting on base. This is something the Yankees should absolutely be eyeing. The exact opposite of Gleyber Torres this season is Jonathan India, and that is something really important to note. So let me know in the comments what you think. What do you think India's value is? Do you think the Reds may be open to selling? Or maybe open to just selling India and just weighing other options? Do you think a trade with Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez included is warranted? Do you think that's giving up too much? I'd absolutely love to hear your point of view on that in the comments. And hey, I love a good discussion, right? So let me know. But it's really interesting because you see these two players neck and neck, and the offensive statistics don't stand out. But then you put the defensive statistics together, and it stands out. And Gleyber's not heating up right now. India very well might be. So very interesting come trade deadline. We're so very close, and it's honestly going to be insane. And these videos and these reports just keep coming out so very fast. So we're here to follow all of it, and we hope you stay along with us for the rest of the ride. So with that being said, that is going to wrap up this video of Yankees Digest. If you like what you see, once again, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1K, and you could very well be a part of the journey, and we really hope that you do stick around to be a part of the rest of the journey as we continue to cover all things New York Yankees. So that's going to do it for this episode. I've been your host, Gabby Gordon, and I will catch you in the next one.